and let us be glad. We begin our time together with some wonderful music from our children's choir. Come on, guys. Thank you, Children's Choir, Jenny and Jasmin, for that beautiful song, reminding us how we are all connected. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. That's good. And the Reverend Abhi Janamanchi, serving as your senior minister, and I welcome you this morning to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church, a progressive religious community where love works. It sure does, where we gather to explore the eternal nurture community and build a more just world, where together we dare to embody the beloved community where all are welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
I am Dominic Manzella, your youth worship associate. Please know that whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your beliefs, your life circumstances, gender identity, or immigration status, you are welcome here.
And if you are new to Cedar Lane, we extend a special welcome to you and let you know that we have a small gift for you. So please raise your hand if you feel comfortable doing so we may see you, recognize, and welcome you. We have some guests here among us this morning. Let's give them a warm Cedar Lane welcome. Thank you for choosing to worship with us today. And I also would like to extend a special welcome to those who are joining our service online, whether in the moment or catching up with us later. We're glad to have you with us, especially this morning, one of our members, Lata Poturi, who is visiting her parents in Bangalore, India, is watching as we speak. So friends, let's turn over and say hello.
Hello.
We're so glad you could join us.
All are invited to stay after the service to enjoy coffee, bagels, donuts, and conversation. If visitors choose to use a yellow mug, our members and friends will be sure to greet you. At coffee hour, yellow means hello.
You're getting into this, aren't you? That's great.
Well, what do you expect?
I know. Oh, I draw your attention now to the announcements page that's included in your order of celebration, just to give you a sense of the many wonderful things that are happening here on campus, a testament to what an engaged, energized, and sometimes busy religious community that we are. I would like to lift up a few things. One, that today we launched our middle hour programming, which, of course, if you're here for the 11 o'clock service, you may not have been able to participate. This is programming we're going to be offering every week between services, focused both on faith development and spiritual growth. So each Sunday we'll be offering a couple of programs around those themes. For today, for example, we had a UU 101 as well as mindfulness meditation. So please stay tuned. This is something you can drop in, get to know people, and also participate in these practices that enrich and deepen our sense of being part of this religious community. Also, next weekend, Friday through Sunday, we're offering an amazing opportunity for us to learn how to be engaged as social justice leaders. The Sacred Fire UU Fellowship in North Carolina is bringing together this training for Unitarian Universalists in our region. So we'll be joined by congregations from our cluster that will be coming together to reflect on the spiritual, looking at social justice as a spiritual practice. So if you're interested in participating in it, even if you cannot do the longer program that will follow, please speak to me and I'll be happy to give you more information. And this Wednesday begins our monthly second Wednesday Vespers that will be at 7 o'clock in the evening. And this month, Christin Green, our intern minister, and I, and Jenny Lynn Moyer will be joining together to offer the Vesper service, which will be preceded by an ethical eating potluck. And the details are in your order of celebration. I hope you will join us, not only for some good food, but also some spiritual food following, in that order. And last but not least, our closing hymn today will be Love Will Guide Us, number 131. We felt that was the hymn we needed to sing after this weekend.
In this caring community, the pastoral visitors are an extension of the ministry team. Ann Meyer is today's on-call pastoral visitor. Please reach out to them if you would like support after the service.
And now let us turn to each other, our neighbors, especially our guests, to experience the joyous community that is Cedar Lane.
A song with me.
Just grab one.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, so I might know your mind.
And
I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
Let us center ourselves for this time of worship with these words from the Reverend Kathleen McTeague. You who are brokenhearted, who woke up today with the winds of despair whistling through your mind and your heart, come in.
You who are brave but wounded, limping through life and hurting with every step, come in.
You who are fearful, who live with shadows hovering over your shoulders, come in.
This place is sanctuary, and it is for you.
You who are filled with happiness, whose abundance overflows, come in.
You who journey through your world with lightness and grace, who awoke this morning with strength and hope, come in.
This place is your calling, a riverbank to channel the sweet waters of your life, the place where you are called by the world's greatest need and its deepest gladness.
Here we offer love.
Here we receive gratitude.
Here we make a circle from the great gifts of breath, awareness, and purpose.
Come in.
Thank you, bell choir. As rich and canny boil with children, Kieran and Hylas kindle the chalice. Please rise in body and or in spirit to share in unison the chalice lighting words printed in your order of celebration. We light our chalice as a symbol of gratitude. We celebrate the abundance of our lives together. In this sanctuary, we harvest the bushels of strength for one another and offer our crop with the hands of compassion and generosity. May we be grateful for the ways we nourish and uplift each other as we strive to build the beloved community where all are welcome.
Please be seated.
We can all create a sanctuary, a safe place. Well, once upon a time, a long time ago, okay, it was about 4 years ago, in a faraway place known as North Carolina, I was caught outside in a sudden rainstorm. Now, I was silly and didn't look at the weather before I left. And I was walking around outside when it started to pour. I got so wet it took hours to dry off. And I didn't have my trusty umbrella with me. So I have a story for you today, but you all have two important parts in the story. Whenever I say boom, I need you to shout boom as loud as you can. So let's practice that. Boom. And there'll be times when I say the word sanctuary. Whenever you hear the word sanctuary, I want you to quietly whisper the word sanctuary back to me. So let's try that together. Sanctuary. Oh, y'all are good. So once upon a time, there was a little girl just like you who was also caught outside in a sudden rainstorm. She ran inside to the nearest store, I kind of wish I had thought of that, to wait out the rain. As soon as she closed the door, a bright flash and a loud boom of thunder. All right, I said a loud boom of thunder followed. So the little girl knew she would be stuck in that store for quite a long time. She started to look around at some of the different items in the store when the shopkeeper appeared. The shopkeeper was the oldest woman the little girl had ever seen. Her hair was as white as snow and her face was all wrinkly. The little girl was brave enough to admit she was a little scared. "Young woman," said the old shopkeep, "can I help you with something?" But the little girl pointed outside, still too afraid to talk. "Ah," said the shopkeep, "did you run in here to escape the rain?" The little girl nodded slowly as another loud boom of thunder shook the store. "Well, you can wait here if you'd like in my little sanctuary. We've got a nice sturdy roof over our heads and it will keep you safe and dry." Well, the little girl appreciated the offer, but she really needed to get back outside and find her parents. The old shopkeep could tell that the little girl was hesitating. "Or," continued the shopkeep, "you could head back outside with this." The old shopkeep went behind the counter and pulled out an umbrella. "Take this umbrella," the old shopkeep said. "I don't know why it's raining, but I know that you can keep dry under this portable sanctuary." Well, the little girl beamed, but then stopped in her tracks. "I don't have any money," said the little girl. Well, the old shopkeep waved her off. "No worries, just be sure to offer the umbrella to someone else when they need it." The little girl accepted the umbrella, headed back outside, opened it up, and went on her way. The little girl was happy and dry. She started skipping down the street and was perfectly happy when she saw a man wearing a suit, trying to keep dry with a newspaper over his head. She heard another loud boom, and the newspaper began to fall apart under the heavy rain. She skipped over to the man in the suit and held the umbrella up as high as she could. "Thank you," said the man. Remembering the words from the old shopkeep, the little girl said, "I don't know why it's raining, but I do know that you can keep dry under this portable sanctuary." Well, the man smiled in relief. See, he had been having a really bad day. He was wearing a suit because he was on his way to a job interview. He had been without work for a long, long time, and he was desperate. He had to walk to the interview because he couldn't afford a car. So when it started to rain, he cursed his luck. He would show up to that really important job interview soaked. And he knew it would make a bad first impression. Well, the little girl spotted her family across the street. "Here," said the little girl, "take the umbrella with you. I see my family right over there." "Oh, I couldn't take your umbrella," said the man, feeling a little guilty. "No, take it. Just be sure to offer the umbrella to someone else when they need it." The little girl put the umbrella into his hands and then ran off to meet her family. The man couldn't believe how nice that little girl was. He knew he had to hurry because it was almost time for that very important interview. Another boom of thunder caused him to start running. Well, I can tell you now that the man got the job he was interviewing for. And soon enough, he was able to afford to buy a few umbrellas of his own. Whenever it would rain, he would not bring only his umbrella the little girl had given him, but he would bring 2 more small umbrellas to give to people who were stuck outside in the rain. And every time he gave away an umbrella, he would say, "I don't know why it's raining, but I do know that you can keep dry under this portable sanctuary." And soon everyone in the town had an umbrella that they would take with them. And if the townspeople passed by someone who didn't have one, they would give up their own umbrella and pass on the words, now known by the entire town, "I don't know why it's raining, but I do know that you can keep dry under this portable sanctuary." So we all can create sanctuary. Sometimes all it takes is a little umbrella. Thank you. Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing song number 346, "Come Sing a Song With Me." We will sing the first verse all together, and then after the first verse, children, youth, and their teachers will process on to class.
invite you now into a time of meditation and prayer. Find your pulse, find your breath, find your stillness. I'm playing the heartbeat because it's the first rhythm we ever know. It's a life-giving rhythm, reminds us of our connectedness. So breathe into this rhythm the fullness of your life experience. Your joys, your sorrows. Breathe in and out. And I invite you to place your hand over your heart and join me in gently playing this heartbeat while I speak. Together, we're playing this heartbeat rhythm for those living through small and extraordinary milestones in their lives. We play this rhythm for those that see parenting as a spiritual practice. We play this rhythm for those mourning a loss. We play this rhythm for those living with or caring for someone in grief and chronic pain. We play it for those struggling with illnesses, seen and unseen, with mental illnesses, with addictions. We play this rhythm particularly for those who have suffered abuse and injustice. We play this rhythm for survivors. We play this rhythm for those that are still surviving. And we play this rhythm for those dealing with the reality of their own mistakes. For those coping with the ways they may have violated their better judgment and someone else's boundaries. And we play this rhythm for those who are ready to forgive themselves and each other, to begin again in love. We celebrate with our friends, we sorrow with our friends. We celebrate with Asa Nugent, the son of Eileen Kane and Richard Nugent, for his commitment to community service, an achievement of 340 hours of service. We send healing wishes to our member, Ursa Sharia, who is recovering at home from major surgery last month. We play this rhythm for her. We send our loving kindness, our compassion, our care outside the boundaries of this building, this city, this county, this state, outside of this nation and this continent, to all the pain and the tragedy and the loss. We send this heartbeat out to those mourning the 1,400 lives lost in a devastating earthquake and tsunami in Indonesia. We have this persistent rhythm in our chests as a gift, a pulse that resonates in and around us. In this sanctuary, a cage of ribs and flesh. we are reminded of the ways we are held in sanctuary, and that we can hold sanctuary for others. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. As we hold this sacred silence together, I invite those mourning a loss or remembering an anniversary to rise in body or spirit as we hold the silence together. May all these joys and sorrows and concerns be lifted up, both spoken and unspoken, held together in this sacred, beloved community. May it be so.
Would you harbor
Our reading comes to us from Palestinian-American poet Naomi Shihab. After learning my flight was detained 4 hours, I heard the announcement,
"If anyone is in the vicinity of Gate 4A, understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately."
Well, one pauses these days. Gate 4A was my own gate. I went there. An old woman in full traditional Palestinian dress, just like my grandma wore, was crumpled to the floor, wailing loudly.
"Help," said the service person. "Talk to her. What is her problem? We just told her the flight is only delayed 4 hours, and then she did this."
So I put my arm around her and spoke to her haltingly. "Shudau Shubidak Habibti, Stani Shwe, Min Fadlik, Shobit Sewi."
The minute she heard any words she knew, however poorly used, she stopped crying.
She thought our flight had been canceled entirely. She needed to be in El Paso for some major medical treatment the following day. I said, No, we're fine. You'll get there, just late."
"Who's picking you up? Let's call him and tell him." We called her son, and I spoke to him in English. I told him I would stay with his mother till we got on the plane and would ride next to her, Southwest.
She talked to him. Then we called her other sons just for the fun of it.
And then we called my dad, and he and she spoke for a while in Arabic and found out, of course, they have 10 shared friends.
Then I thought, just for the heck of it, why not call some Palestinian poets I know and let them chat with her? This all took up about 2 hours.
She was laughing a lot by then, telling her about her life and answering questions.
She had pulled out a sack of homemade mamul cookies, little powdered sugar crumbly mounds stuffed with dates and nuts, out of her bag, and was offering them to all the women at the gate.
To my amazement, not a single woman declined one. It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the traveler from California, a lovely woman from Laredo. We were all covered in the same powdered sugar and smiling. There were no better cookies.
And then the airline broke out free beverages from huge coolers, non-alcoholic, of course. And the 2 little girls from our flight, one African-American and one Mexican-American, ran around serving us all apple juice and lemonade, and they were covered with powdered sugar too.
And I noticed my new best friend. By now, we were holding hands. She had a potted plant poking out of her bag, some medicinal thing.
With green furry leaves, such an old country traveling tradition. Always carry a plant, always stay rooted to somewhere.
And I looked around that gate of late and weary ones and thought, this is the world I want to live in, the shared world.
Not a single person in this gate, once the crying of confusion stopped, has seemed apprehensive about any other person.
They took the cookies. I wanted to hug all those women too. This can still happen anywhere.
This can happen anywhere. Thank you. Thank you, members of the choir, Jasmin and Henry, for that powerful anthem, lifting up the meaning of sanctuary, inviting us to let us remember who our neighbors are and to say, you are my neighbor, you are beloved. Thank you. How's everyone doing? Okay? That's a good place to be, given all that's come down this weekend. So if you are feeling enraged, I say to you, bless you. If you're still feeling triggered, bless you. If you are a survivor, bless you. If you are surviving, bless you. If you are witnessing, bless you. If you are struggling with, as Christin said, violating your own best intentions, bless you. If you're trying to find a way to seek forgiveness, atonement, bless you. This is an extraordinary time, friends, that we find ourselves in. A time where there is such hopelessness and despair, groundlessness, homelessness. In so many ways, we feel buffeted by all that is happening and trying to find a way to stay connected, to be grounded in something. So it is a good thing that we are here today, reflecting on a theme that I think couldn't be more timely as we begin this month, October, the theme of sanctuary that you've already heard in word, in music, in prayer, in story. The theme, sanctuary, that we are called to be within ourselves, for one another, and in the world. Our UUA president, the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, wrote, "We are living in times of heartbreak, violence, and pain, and in this time we need communities that remind us of our humanity." I think that about encapsulates what our purpose is, our mission is, in a time such as this. Christin, thank you for that beautiful rendition of that hymn, "Love, Prepare Me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you." Would you mind leading us again?
Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's such a beautiful word, sanctuary. It comes to us from the ancient Latin sanctuarium, a sacred place. Now, the first part of the word, sancta or sanctus, means that which is holy. The second, arium, means a container, something that holds. Sanctuary is a place that holds that which is holy. Now, we call this place our sanctuary because here we invoke the Spirit of life, and here the people who would be holy together. You've heard me say many times when we begin worship that this sanctuary made sacred and holy by our presence. That's what sanctuary means. And these days, sanctuary is finding what is holy, claiming it, clinging to it, in a world that is filled with so much suffering, violence, fear, war, ecological devastation, racism, sexism, misogyny, homophobia, xenophobia, and so much more. As Quaker philosopher Parker Palmer writes, sanctuary is wherever I find safe space to regain my bearings, reclaim my soul, heal my wounds, and return to the world as a wounded healer. It's not merely about finding shelter from the storm. It's about spiritual survival. We are all spiritual survivors seeking sanctuary. And in that sense, we all need sanctuary because the world is hard for us, each in our own way. It is too much with us. Sanctuary, a place where the heart is not in the thrall of hate and greed and violence and prejudice, where we can create a temple within ourselves, sacred ground for ourselves, stopping war where it starts, in the heart. So it means a place to be reconnected with our true selves, our Atman, as the Hindus would say, or as the Zen koan says, with who you are before your parents were born. Think about that. Reconnecting with who you are before your parents were born. Buddhism teaches that there are two dimensions to our being, two essential truths. There's the universal and there's the personal. And you have to remember both your Buddha nature as well as your zip code. That's what it means. And if you forget either one, you're in trouble. So you have to be both, somehow, with integrity. So sanctuary is feeling that deep sense of belonging, of finding home again through our homelessness. Finding home, feeling home, being at home are complex, multi-layered spiritual and cultural experiences that are independent of the place we live. Where is home? What is my true nature, and what does it mean to be at home with it? And when I don't feel at home, where can I find sanctuary? These questions become critical when our lives are under siege, under threat. Now, the words, I am home, tend not to resonate for many who are marginalized in our society. You see, if you do not have a sense of belonging based on prolonged systemic mistreatment or oppression, if you've been a target of hatred and violence, that disregard affects your well-being. So in a relative sense, those who are dehumanized are never home. And in the absolute sense, home is in the heart and cannot be touched by any outside force, even the most oppressive. Both senses are true. And it is living with this paradox that we are and are not home sometimes at the same time is what we have to struggle with. For example, as a naturalized citizen, while I am encouraged to make a home in this country, manifesting such is a real struggle for me, especially these days. So, sanctuary. It's the place we can go when our lives are under threat, where we can consider love, say yes to love in the midst of oppression. It's a place for those who speak a language not of the dominant culture, a place where anyone can say, I am home. Taking sanctuary is therefore an act of saving one's life from the suffering of the world. And establishing sanctuary is critical to finding home, and for that we need to accept refuge, surrender. The three refuges in the Buddhist tradition: Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, I take refuge in the Buddha nature within. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami, I take refuge in the Dhamma, all that holds. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami, I take refuge in the Sangha, the spiritual community. So establishing sanctuary within and among is critical to help us find a sense of home. It is a place we go to face our aloneness, but recognizing that we don't have to be alone, that we are in it together, that we need one another. Here's a gem of a story to illustrate that point a little bit, but it's so multi-layered and rich that I didn't even care if it didn't fit. I wanted to share it with you this morning. It's one of those things, you come across and you just sit with it. This comes to us from change agent Fran Peavy, who writes, one day I was walking through the Stanford University campus with a friend when I saw a crowd of people with cameras and video equipment on a little hillside. They were clustered around a pair of chimpanzees, a male running loose, no surprise there, and a female on a chain about 25 feet long. I guess no surprise there as well. It turned out that the male was from Marine World, and the female was being studied for something or the other at Stanford. The spectators were mostly scientists and publicity people trying to get them to mate in public. Of course, the male was eager. He grunted and grabbed the female's chain and tugged, and she whimpered and backed away. He pulled again, she pulled back. Watching the chimps' faces, I began to feel sympathy for the female. And then suddenly, she writes, the female chimp yanked her chain out of the male's grasp, and to my amazement, she walked right through the crowd, straight over to me, and took my hand. Then she proceeded to lead me across the circle to the only other two women in the crowd. And she joined hands with one of them. And the three of us stood together in a circle. I remember the feeling of that rough palm against mine. The little chimp had recognized and seen us and reached out across all the thousands of years of evolution to form her own women's support group. Sanctuary. It is what we offer to one another. It is the gift that we can and must give to one another, sometimes stepping out of our skin, out of our own comfort and safety, to be present, to be with one another. Remember that story from the Hebrew Bible when Jacob, who is returning home to meet his brother Esau. Know that story? Come on, folks. It's your story, not mine. I just happened to read it in seminary. and got really grabbed by it. Anyway, just to give you that story. So Jacob stole Esau's birthright and was returning home to make amends, and he's really scared. He doesn't know what Esau would do. He might kill him, and for good reason. So he sends his family first, so that he'd be glad to see his nephews and nieces and things would be better, and then he would show up. So he stays overnight by the river Jabbok. And while he's sleeping, he's woken up in his sleep by a stranger, an angel, God, whoever you think it is. And the stranger proceeds to wrestle with him. And they wrestle and wrestle all through the night. And when Jacob tries to let go, the stranger wouldn't let him go. And when the morning arrives, the stranger wants to leave, but Jacob would not let him go until he blesses him. And so the stranger does. He renames him Israel, one who strove and persevered. Jacob is wounded, but he also receives a blessing. That's the story. Now, that story has been told to talk about what is it that we are called to be when we say, love thy neighbor. Because loving the stranger, you see, is a wounding experience. And sometimes the greatest stranger, the most difficult stranger that we have to wrestle with is the one inside. So, sanctuary means stretching out of being comfortable together all the time, sometimes learning to breathe through our discomfort to actually reach out and say yes to the question, would you harbor me? As Ysaye Barnwell's song lifted up. And our congregations can be places of that kind of sanctuary for the bruised and the tired, for those who are heartbroken and are survivors and are surviving, places of healing and renewal, of resistance. They are workshops for common endeavor, as a colleague put it, breaking barriers and building bridges. A religious community such as Cedar Lane has a clear, strong, holy purpose. It is more than intellectual stimulation on Sunday mornings. It is more than the relief of finding a tribe of others of like mind that we can have coffee, bagels, and donuts with. It is more than resting easy in the relative comfort of homogeneity. It is more than friendship and socializing. It's more than self-expression or self-actualization, more than anything with self in the hyphenated title. Offering sanctuary to those who are invisible, displaced, or discriminated against because of class, ethnicity, heritage, beliefs, race, religion, sexuality, gender identity, physical ability, or immigration status is to respond to expressed hatred in our world. And friends, if you haven't noticed lately, there is a lot of it going around. Now, historically, sanctuary as a sense of place of refuge or protection, such as in a church in which fugitives could not be arrested, is attested from the 1560s, was a part of British common law. Today, sanctuary offered by religious communities no longer has any legal effect, but is respected solely on the basis of tradition. And that's what the sanctuary movement that emerged in the 80s with more than 500 religious communities across the country, including many UU congregations, including All Souls in Washington, D.C., participated in, opening themselves up to welcome Guatemalan and Salvadoran refugee families, working with Mexican activists across the border, smuggling them in what turned out to be a modern-day underground railroad movement. And that's what we are engaged in today with the modern new sanctuary movement. That is why we overwhelmingly voted to support being a physical sanctuary congregation in June 2017. That is why we are active members of the DMV Sanctuary Network, providing solidarity and support to neighbors, friends, and family who fear being detained, deported, or profiled. because our faith will not allow us to permit the criminalization and scapegoating of immigrants and people of color. In the face of hate and discrimination, we are committed to showing love, compassion, and hospitality. Now, I want to take a moment to thank members of our Immigrant Justice Ministry team who have been engaged in this work for more than 3 years now, but especially since we became a physical sanctuary. If you are present here today, would you please rise so we may see and recognize and thank you for your work? Charlene, Sandy, Connie, thank you. Thank you. Now, we have more than 100 people on the Immigrant Justice Ministry team Google group, which just is an indicator of how deeply important this is for our work. But this is not the only work that we do. We're also engaged in environmental justice work, in racial justice work, in gender justice work. And we are also engaged in intersectional ways through organizations like Action in Montgomery, AIM. This is how we are trying to get at ways to live out our faith, our values, our commitments. Because it is recognizing that sanctuary is not just about creating community for ourselves together, but also stepping out into the world to serve the larger community and create sanctuary in the world. What Dr. King called beloved community is just that. It was not a utopian dream that he was talking about, but actually a real community where there would be peace, justice, and equality for all, where we would strive together, not automatically assuming somehow that the moral arc of the universe would bend towards justice, as Theodore Parker once proudly proclaimed, that Dr. King then reiterated and President Obama took it and ran with it. My colleague David Miller yesterday said he's sick and tired of saying we're bending the moral arc of the universe toward justice. I agree with him. Because what is needed now is all of us jumping on that arc to get it to bend toward justice. So if you're feeling that rage and anger and hurt and pain from what we witnessed, that sham of a political process that we witnessed this weekend, where we saw once again a naked use of power and privilege, of trying to shut out hundreds of thousands of voices that were calling our elected leaders to pay attention, to do what is right, what is just, to go through a fair process, and all of which was not only ignored, but shut out. Please do not feel hopeless, though that seems to be the place we want to go to. Because we are not alone. And this is a moment that can become a movement. This is a call to action. So, go out, spend time in these upcoming weeks getting people to register to vote. Not just in Blue, Maryland, but just go across the border to Virginia. If you have the time, go to North Carolina. If you have more time, go down to Florida. I'll tell you, I have friends in Clearwater. I'll make sure they put you up. So you can be doing. No, seriously. That is what it takes, friends, to really bend the moral arc of the universe toward justice. What I know, I've been at it for a while, so I'm going to wrap this up. What I know is that the need for sanctuary for the body, mind, and spirit is still very much with us. And that while the beloved community remains a work in process, there will be times when each of us lives in exile. Let us not forget that. Times when we are on the outside looking in. Times when we ourselves need sanctuary and must rely on the solidarity and strength of others. And we've been waiting for this time to create a home that mirrors the compassion and freedom in our own hearts. We are ready. Our rage, our pain, and our anger needs to be exposed and expressed so we can transform and mature with them. Now is the time we have been practicing for. Would you lead us again? And this time, let us join Christin in singing Sanctuary.
This is on. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Once more.
Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
So may it be. As the ushers come forth to give and receive an offering to sustain the mission and ministry of Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church that calls us to be a living sanctuary, tried and true, let us participate by giving of ourselves generously. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
We bring and share to make this a beloved community. Please rise in body or in spirit to sing the hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us, in your gray hymnal.
Sing Love Will Guide Us. I like that. I invite us to hold hands with our neighbors, stretching beyond the slight discomfort we might feel, or bump elbows if you're concerned about flu, which is a real issue this season, as I share with you these words from Jan Richardson. Do not despair. You hold the memory of what it was to be whole. It lives deep in your bones. It abides in your heart that has been torn and mended 100 times. It persists in your lungs that know the mystery of what it means to be full, to be empty, to be full again. I'm not asking you to give up your grip on the shards you clasp so close to you, but to wonder what it would be like for those jagged edges to meet each other in some new pattern that you have never imagined, that you have never dared to dream. Go in peace. Go making peace. Live gently, love mightily, and bow to the mystery. So may it be.